It started with an innocent question from my son, a question I brushed off as harmless. But what followed left me questioning everything I thought I knew about boundaries, trust, and the unspoken rules that bind a family together. This is the story of how one unexpected moment changed the dynamic in our home forever. It's not something I ever thought I'd share, but sometimes the most personal stories carry lessons we all need to hear. What do you do when someone you trust crosses a line you never imagined they would? Our family was close, maybe too close. My son, Eric, was always curious, always asking questions about the world. He was 16, at that age where curiosity blends with rebellion, where boundaries start to feel like challenges instead of limits. One afternoon, as I was folding laundry in the living room, he asked me a strange question. "Mom, do you think people can't help but be curious about things they shouldn't see?" I laughed it off, assuming it was one of those philosophical questions teenagers ask when they're trying to sound deep. But something about the way he looked at me lingered in my mind. His eyes weren't filled with the usual teenage mischief. They were probing, searching. I thought it was just a phase, a teenage boy's awkward attempts at understanding the world. But then, the boundaries started to blur. It all began innocently enough. Eric, my teenage son, started spending more time at home. At first, I chalked it up to him needing a break from the hustle of school and friends. Teenagers, after all, go through phases, but this phase felt different, more deliberate. He'd linger in the kitchen while I cooked, asking me endless questions. They weren't the usual, "What's for dinner?" or "Can I go out with friends?" Instead, his questions felt more probing, almost as if he were trying to understand me on a deeper level. "Mom, what's your favorite memory from childhood?" he asked one evening while I stirred a pot of soup. Caught off guard, I smiled and shared a story about climbing trees with my brother. He listened intently, nodding as if he were cataloging every detail. At first, I appreciated the effort. It felt like he was trying to connect, to see me as more than just mom. For a single mother raising a son, these moments felt like small victories, a sign that I was doing something right. But slowly the tone shifted. One evening, as I was putting away dishes, he asked a question that stopped me in my tracks. "Do you ever think about what your life would have been like if you hadn't gotten married?" I turned to him, confused. "What kind of question is that?" I said, laughing nervously. "Just curious," he replied with a shrug, his eyes not meeting mine. It didn't feel like a typical teenage curiosity. It felt calculated. Over the next few weeks, I started noticing little things that didn't sit right. Eric would hover nearby when I was on the phone, pretending to be absorbed in a book or his phone, but I could feel his eyes on me. He'd linger outside my bedroom door, claiming he had something to ask, but never quite getting to the point. One night, I found him standing in the hallway outside my room. "Eric, is something wrong?" I asked. "No, just couldn't sleep," he said, but there was an edge to his voice, a hesitation that didn't feel natural. Then came the incident that changed everything. The incident. It was a Sunday morning. I had just finished my workout and decided to take a quick shower before starting the day. It was just the two of us at home. No need to lock the bathroom door, or so I thought. As the water ran over me, washing away the sweat and exhaustion, I thought I heard something. A faint creak like the sound of a door opening. My heart skipped a beat. "Eric!" I called out, but there was no response. I turned off the water, grabbed a towel, and opened the shower curtain. There he was, standing in the doorway, frozen like a deer caught in headlights. "Eric, what are you doing?" I yelled, clutching the towel tighter around me. He stammered, I didn't know you were in here. "I'm sorry." But the look in his eyes said otherwise. He wasn't sorry. He was curious. The aftermath. The rest of the day passed in uneasy silence. I couldn't shake the image of him standing there, nor could I dismiss the gut-wrenching feeling that something was deeply wrong. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was an innocent mistake, I told myself, but deep down, I knew better. That evening, I confronted him. "Eric, we need to talk about what happened this morning. He looked up from his phone, his expression unreadable. I already said, I'm sorry. It won't happen again. But it wasn't just about that one incident. It was about everything. The lingering questions, the hovering presence, the subtle but undeniable shift in his behavior. I need you to be honest with me, I said, my voice firm. Is there something going on that I should know about? He hesitated, his eyes darting around the room, as if searching for an escape. Nothing's going on, he said finally, but his tone betrayed him. I knew then that I couldn't handle this alone, seeking help. The next day, I reached out to a therapist who specialized in family dynamics. I shared everything, the questions, the lingering stares, the bathroom incident. The therapist listened carefully, then said something that sent chills down my spine. Sometimes, unresolved emotions or confusion about boundaries can manifest in ways that feel intrusive. It's important to address this now before it escalates further. Setting boundaries. Following the therapist's advice, I sat Eric down for a serious conversation. Eric, I love you, and I want us to have a strong, healthy relationship. But some of your recent behaviors made me uncomfortable, I said. He looked away, his face a mix of embarrassment and defiance. I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable, he muttered. I know, I said gently, but we need to establish some boundaries. This is as much for you as it is for me. I implemented clear rules. No entering my room or the bathroom without knocking, no lingering outside my door, and most importantly, open communication about feelings and concerns. A new beginning. Over time, things started to improve. Eric became more respectful of boundaries, and our relationship began to feel more balanced. But I couldn't forget the lesson I'd learned. Even the most innocent behaviors can sometimes carry deeper implications. By addressing the issue head-on, I not only protected myself, but also helped Eric navigate a difficult and confusing time in his life. If you've ever felt uneasy about someone's behavior, don't ignore your instincts. Seek help, set boundaries, and remember that it's okay to prioritize your comfort and safety. That moment marked a turning point. It wasn't just about the accidental intrusion, it was the way he lingered, the way his eyes seemed to study me before he bolted out of the room. I confronted him later that day. Eric, we need to talk about what happened earlier. His face turned red, and he wouldn't meet my gaze. I didn't mean to. I swear, he mumbled, but I didn't believe him. I couldn't. Eric, this isn't okay. There are boundaries and you cross them. Do you understand that? I said, my voice firm but calm. He nodded, tears welling up in his eyes. I'm sorry, Mom. I don't know what's wrong with me. That night, I lay awake, replaying the moment over and over in my mind. Was it my fault for not setting stricter boundaries? Was it just a fleeting moment of teenage curiosity? Or was it something deeper, something more troubling? I decided to take action. We had a long, honest conversation about respect, boundaries, and the importance of trust. I also sought advice from a family therapist who helped us navigate the awkwardness and rebuild our relationship. Sometimes, life throws us situations we're not prepared for. Moments that test our values and force us to confront uncomfortable truths. But in those moments, it's how we respond that defines us. If this story resonated with you, subscribe to the channel for more real-life stories like this.